Very warm welcome to all of you and good evening. Uh, I can already see that there are many who have joined the webinar and have started writing in their messages. Those who have joined us online on Zoom, those who have joined us online on one of our social media platforms, Facebook. Welcome to all of you. Uh, just as a since you have joined, I don't think I'll need a separate introduction for what exactly have we gathered here for, and I will be talking about wonderful group of panelists and some of the special attendees that we have in our webinar today. But prior to that, the session today is Unpacking a Blue Planet Training Manual. It's a teachers training, training the teachers, training the trainers manual that talks about ecology, that talks about economy, that talks about bringing these both together and taking them to the students across BIMSTEC region, schools and students. And of course, the most influential people in taking these ideas to students often are teachers. Their role, of course, continues evolving as technology comes in, as various new experiments come in. But ultimately, everybody agrees that the teachers are the most critical component of the entire education system, the schooling system, and taking these brilliant ideas, the outstanding ideas that experts generate. And I'll talk about a couple of experts we have who have developed this curriculum. Uh, Teachers do play a very, very fundamental role. So those who educators, teachers who have joined as audience, and of course, within the panel, we have educators and teachers. First, a big note of gratitude for all that you do. And thank you for joining us today. This webinar is exactly for you. I hope that what you get in today's webinar about the training manual that our excellent group of panelists are going to speak, you find it relevant, it resonates with you, and your feedback, your thoughts are most welcome. We'll continue talking about it subsequently. Now, without wasting any further time, I'm going to first invite Mr. Shailendra Sharma, who has joined us from Government of Delhi, to just turn on your camera, please, so that the audience can see you. Mr. Shailendra Sharma has joined us as the keynote speaker. We also have Dr. Carlston Klein, the Regional Director of Friedrich Naumann Foundation, also joining us in the opening part of the webinar as one of the keynote speakers. I just wanted to introduce the first two keynote speakers. Subsequently, I'll introduce all the panelists. May I please now request Dr. Carlston Klein, Regional Director, Friedrich Naumann Foundation, under whose leadership this webinar is hosted, and in one sense has brought all of us together, right from the concept to the first leg of this session that we did in person in Delhi. It would be wonderful to hear from him a little bit about the concept, and also just a quick note of welcome for all the panelists and the keynote speakers that we have. Over to you, Dr. Klein.
Yes, thank you very much to all of you. I would say something towards the end, and without any further loss of time, I would like to hand over, as you said, to Sahinder Ji from Delhi government. Let me just underline that in the webinar and also in the seminar, which we had in December, you played a key role for all your, with all your initiatives. I know that you brought along with you some very dedicated masters of schools, teachers, educators. So your personal and also your very practical input was very, very valuable. We are only the enablers. We are only the people who participate with our little bit. But you are the persons within the authorities of the schools who are then responsible for taking out or taking the torch further. So thank you very much. And with that, I would like to hand over to dear Mr. Shailendra Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Klein. It's my honor to be invited here today to deliver keynote address on such an important occasion. Because I have been, as you said, I have been part of this journey. And in December, early December, when you organized a seminar on this matter, I attended in person along with several of my colleagues. And I must say that the issues that were discussed on that day and the follow-up that you have done subsequently is quite impressive. And today, in I think less than 1.5 months, we are here ready to launch the training manual that has been created as an outcome of the process that was going on. So I would like to congratulate CCS and FNS for doing such a wonderful job in such a short span of time. Because as an educator, we feel that the issue that you have picked up is of fundamental importance in today's time. It's about how do we live our life in harmony with ourselves and with nature. That is the key thing which is captured. And when I was glancing through the manual, I must say that this team has brought it very well, and it connects very effectively with how our learners are going to engage with such an important issue. Particularly the analogy that you have drawn on how to be combined blue, green, and brown. That is water, land, and human being coming together, and the role that they are going to play in creating a harmonious setting for all of us is very important. We have been talking about sustainable development, and everything that we are doing is seen through the lens of how sustainable model we are going to create, because it is not only about meeting today's need but also preparing for tomorrow's challenge. And that is where I think a new journey is required in terms of exploring new areas which our learners need to understand further, that what is it that is critical to the life itself, and how are we going to preserve and promote that. So all these things are uh, very beautifully covered in this manual, and it is being proposed to be done through use of a lot of activities, which is very important, because through that our learners are also going to get hands-on experience to be able to feel for self the issues that they are engaging with. So all in all, I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to unroll this curriculum in our schools, so that our children come back with a lot of interesting experiences, and we update ourselves further on this matter. So with that, I invite once again Dr. Klein and rest of the panelists in joining me to launch this Blue Curriculum for Life manual. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be part of this great occasion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma. I will also request you to stay on the screen and with camera on for the subsequent part of the webinar. And without also missing the host organization for this webinar, of course, being the Frederick Naumann Foundation. And it's done in partnership with the Center for Civil Society, which is a Delhi-based think tank and a long association, a long partner of Frederick Naumann Foundation. We have the CEO and an old friend, Dr. Amit Chandra from Center for Civil Society, who's here. Amit, there was a little small change in sequence, so sorry about that, but most welcome. Many of the teachers, many of the participants are already familiar with you personally, with Center for Civil Society. So please, could you just add a couple of lines of introduction about CCS, and please also talk deliver your speech. So most welcome, and over to you, Amit.
Thank you very much, Rohan. And no speech. I know Shailendraji is here, and we also have fantastic panelists to discuss on the topic, and therefore I don't think I will take too much of the time. However, I would just spend a couple of minutes highlighting a few things. Number one, Center for Civil Society in partnership with Friedrich Naumann Foundation has been making multiple attempts to look into education and how can we play some role in making things better, whether through teacher training programs, curriculum development, talking about Blue Curriculum, about Dharampal Fellowship, etc., etc. So we are trying to figure out what can we do with students, what can we do with with teachers, what can we do with schools, what can we do, and how can we collaborate and support and work in partnership with the state government, with the department, so that ultimately we have better quality of education being delivered to the kids. And in this entire journey, Friedrich Naumann Foundation specifically, I would like to highlight, has become big support, not just in terms of helping us organize things, but also conceptualizing, ideating. In fact, this entire idea of webinar, I would like to personally thank Dr. Klein to keep us motivated, keep us engaged on organizing WebTalk. And WebTalk is a wonderful medium to connect with multiple people and get the speakers who otherwise it becomes difficult because we have speakers from, let's say, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, India. We are looking at the entire South Asia. And in South Asia, how do we connect? Also, in fact, Friedrich Naumann Foundation itself being a German organization, people in Germany are also interested to know and learn from us. At the same time, they can also contribute in many ways. So I would like to recognize that role and thank Dr. Klein. Next, this series of webinars, now this is the third year that actually we are doing. So continuously we are doing. And here I would notify that I would not just like to welcome people who are attending this webinar right now. This also goes up on YouTube and Facebook. And therefore, it is also available for people who would join it later. For some reason, they cannot make themselves available at this point, but they will join later and be benefited. The third thing then I would come to is the topic for today. What we are going to discuss is Unpacking a Blue Planet, the training manual. This entire journey started with the conversation about what can we do with the climate change. And on climate change, whenever we are talking about, now there is some level of awareness about air pollution. Being in Delhi, we have to face this. But slowly, can we also talk about water as a scarce resource, how livelihoods are dependent and affected by water and water resources? What can we do, right? So when we start thinking about blue curriculum and OSIN, etc., yes, that is also important. But the first step will begin as we become more cautious about how we are using and protecting and conserving water, and therefore water resources and water activities and water-based livelihoods and all of that. And from this conversation, the journey began, which now, from curriculum, from training, from webinar, from the seminar that we did on, I think, 7th of December, finally, we have designed, with support from our friends from CEE, the training manual, right, which we are going to talk about. So we are here on this journey, sensitizing and thinking about what all we can do about the ocean-based economy and water and resources, thinking about blue curriculum and all of that. We are on this journey, and I'm so glad that we have many friends and colleagues and partners who are part of this journey, and together we will continue to work on this. I'm so glad that in this constant endeavor, we have great support from our dear friend and colleague, Rohan. Rohan has been exceptionally great in terms of leading the conversation on December 7th or even this webinar, and he will continue to help us. This.
Amit, sorry, your voice is cracking up a little bit. Could you speak again? Sorry. No, it's not very clear.
Is this better?
Much better. Please, please,
Okay.
please keep it up. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now I was just coming back to you, Rohan. Shalendraji is here and waiting to launch we look at the video and then launch the book. So back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amit, so much. And once again, sincere sort of apologies to keep you waiting for the first part. Great that you joined in and inaugurated the webinar. So thank you so much to all three of you, Dr. Klein, Amit, and Mr. Shailendra Sharma. Wonderful sort of opening remarks from all of you. There are many people, I am assuming there are many of them teachers who are writing in the chat box, who are now curious about what the seminar was all about. And somebody, in fact, Afia has just even asked, can I see the seminar? I think intuitively the organizers, Nupur and the team knew that this is going to happen. So we in fact have a video of the first seminar that we did with more than 50 participants from BIMSTEC countries. They were educators, they were education ministers, policymakers, who collectively put their best intentions and best brains to come up with some suggestions, ideas for this entire training manual that we have put together. Let's look at a quick glimpse of it that serves as a precursor to what's going to happen in the subsequent part of this session. So may I please request our team to launch the video?
Water is the unit of life.
We are preparing our children for tomorrow, not for yesterday.
Climate change is not anymore a threat or a thing of the future, but it's here and now. We have gathered here today for Blue Curriculum Education, where we are gathering educators, education practitioners, teachers, education ministers, even from 9 different countries, including India, to talk about Blue Curriculum.
One of the focal issues of Friedrich Naumann Foundation South Asia is education, and I'm very happy that we have a roundtable discussion today on education on Blue Ocean.
South Asia and also India are countries dominated by rivers, dominated by the seas around them, and those factors are extremely relevant for especially younger people to understand the relevance of water issues, of climate protection, of water protection, but also the possibilities, which are new jobs, create new good ideas and concepts and solutions.
The brief was that make a curriculum about blue economy. It's very important to look at the sustainability issues and sustainability framing for the blue economy.
What we are going to do today is going to decide how the future is going to look like.
This is really a need of time, I must say.
Because education is a very critical part of transforming change.
That now we face the triple planetary crisis. I think the Blue Curriculum will help us to find a way to fix this.
To change a mindset, the easiest to do so is when they are young. At the end of the day, these curricula will have to be implemented in schools. So, we believe very important, therefore, to visit one of these schools where this curriculum will potentially be implemented.
Right from the beginning of their school years, the children are exposed to learn more about the life inside the ocean and how that shapes our own life and environment. That would be a great beginning.
I want my world to be so beautiful, so safe for others.
It's something like a North Star. As you know, all nations and societies ought to have their own North Star. So the ocean teaches us to be humble, to be more balanced, and of course, to be equanimous.
Wonderful. There is a lot of curiosity already about the training manual itself and the link. We are definitely going to launch the link as well and make it accessible to all of you. In fact, it's our dream that it reaches more and more educators. I see that there are comments all the way from Maldives, and teachers have joined all the way from various places within South Asia. It would be a sheer joy for us to take this training manual to all these different schools and remote parts of the region. And just for our curiosity, while we wait for the link to be available for all of us, let's just look at what this training manual actually looks like. What exactly are the contents of it and how much work has gone into it. So may I please request our team to also get our launch of the book ready. And may I once again request Mr. Shailendra Sharma, Dr. Klein, Dr. Amit, if he's around, and Nupur to have their cameras on and on the screen as we launch the book. May I request all the panelists also for this part to have our cameras on. We are launching the training manual virtually, keeping up with the current times. And I hope that you all and all of us get a chance to lay our hands on it very, very soon. Let's get ready for the launch of the book. I also have a small request that while we cannot hear and see the claps, we do all have an emoji option. So if you could share your emojis in the chat box in the form of claps or just a celebration, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Rupinder ji. Dennis, thank you. Thank you so much for all the appreciation that's pouring in the chat box. Really appreciate it. The creators of this manual and some of whom you're going to interact very soon, you're going to hear from them very soon, will be very delighted to hear this. Thank you. And for some of us who can clap here, I think it's wonderful. It's a little mute and a new way, but I think I hope that people who have joined us on social media, I would love to see your claps in the comments as well. So on social media, so let them pour in, please. Thank you so much. Officially, the training manual is launched. I once again thank Mr. Shailendra Sharma, Dr. Klein and Amit for being part of this first opening session. We often do programs for schools and teachers, and our entire program revolves somehow around the adults. We completely miss out that ultimately it is for children and it is for students. So while our entire panel is occupied by all these adults, may I also request our actual student panelists. We have Harshit from Harividya Bhavan. It's a small school, budget private school, budget, but excellent school in Delhi, in Sangam Vihar area of Delhi, runs for children from lower middle income families. Committed school run by Sushil Dhankar and Pooja Dhankar. They have been extremely committed and have raised this school to become a center of excellence and at a very affordable price, which is available for children in Delhi, Sangam Vihar area. Harshit, and his colleague, his classmate has also joined. I think she's in the audience. Harshit, may I ask you a small question about this curriculum that's going to come to your school? Let's leave aside all the studying and curriculum. Let's just why does ecology matter to you, and what do you think? Like, how would your friends react to something like this when it comes to your school? Why does environment?
Sorry to say, could you please repeat your?
Yes, sure. Why do you think environment and ecology matters? What do you feel about environment and ecology? One, and you just had a chance to see what the curriculum or the book looks like. Would you like to have it in your school? Would you enjoy it if it's there in your school for other students and your friends, classmates?
Definitely, sir. So, sir, if I'm going to talk about the answers of it, so firstly, I will talk about the environment that you asked me that is what is the importance as per my
One second.
intellect.
Harshit, can I pause you for a second? Before the environment, let's start from yourself. Could you talk a little bit about yourself? Tell your name to everybody, which class you
Okay,
study,
sir,
a little bit about your school. Yes, please go ahead.
sorry.
Yes, yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
so myself, and I'm a student of Harividya Bhavan, one of the student of Harividya Bhavan of class 12th. And so let's begin with environment. So let's back to the topic. So as per me, I think environment is the world's best thing which I've ever wondered or like heard the word of it. Because when we talks about the environment and when we close our eyes related to this topic, we just assume or we could say that we analyze as what the thing is about trees, plants, waters, marine lives, animals, and such a things. Just like one of the species of animals is about humans. I'm not talking about that much of in deep. But if we talk about environment, it's about just like it's heaven. Just like a word environment can't express the feeling whatsoever, the things a human having on this. And if I talk about the presence of it or about the importance of it in human life, it's about having a deepest emotion about anything, or it's a chance that you got from the God, or you could say from the science to know about the researches which we have done, the things we got to know about environment is like in deep as much as whatever I heard or whatever I know about environment is about just like minimum, or I could say that small organisms which just like came together and just gave us a beauty, or I could say a nature by which or by through which we are just viewing it or just like seeing it or watching it on the basis of our behalves and such things. So if I could talk about the importance of it in my life or in the whole student's life, as per the student aspect which I'm reading is like in 12th class, I'm not having that much of knowledge about environment, but still I could share one thing about it, that is ki if I got a chance to build such things like environment, I definitely go for it because it is the thing which I've ever seen before. Whenever the terms when I was just like, okay, I just want to speak or just like want to chance to get a small things about my future, or just like about a I just want to talk about my past. Just like when I was in 10th class at my village, I was just wandering here and there, and just I got from my parents, come and look, there's a flower. And I just went it there. I saw the flower that was in yellow of color. That was looking amazing at that time period. So I was saying this like, Mama and Daddy, could you please see that? Can I just plug it out? It's because I'm loving it. So at that time, I was not that much of big. So just they said that you can go and plug it out if you wanted it. You are loving it too. So I just take it out. And when I came back, I was realizing it. Is this the truest form of love, that if we are loving something and just taking it out, it's like we are taking the opportunity of that flower to see the world just by picking it up. Then from there, just like by being dated, and now in as per the aspect of that, now I'm in 12th class. So I think it on that day, if I'll be able to know the real meaning of love is to just like, if I just want to love the flower, or if I'm loving the flower, so I should be keep watering it, I should be saving it if I love it. So but at that about it. So that's it for this.
Thank you so much, Harshit. I really was touched by the sensitivity you showed, even for the smallest flower. I hope that that sensitivity that's so core to environment as well as to the understanding of ecology and our interconnection with that, but also at the same time with economy. So thank you so much, and I hope that that sensitivity transcends into all the work that we do among the teachers, among the educators. Thank you, Harshit. I'm just going to recognize, acknowledge your classmate, I think, or maybe the school friend Bhavya, who has also joined. Hello, Bhavya, and thank you for joining us. He's also from Harividya Bhavan, a student of Harividya Bhavan. Okay, our panelists, we invited you to speak, and all that we have done so far is to make you listen. So, thank you for being patient, and all the people, teachers particularly. We have a very active group. This is what we love about teachers, isn't it, Kadambari ma'am? That the energy, the participation, the enthusiasm. We see that in the chat box, and thank you so much. I cannot appreciate this enough. We really, really acknowledge the enthusiasm you're showing, and I'm very, very confident that our panelists will also really do justice to the topic and share some very interesting insights that all the teachers would love to hear. As we go into the panel and listen to the panelists, I would also just gently remind all the teachers that there will be many things that you hear or you may have questions as you are pouring in your comments. Please share your questions for the panelists in the Q&A option, just by clicking on the Q&A option, right? We will either try to take those questions if they're super relevant right there and then, or towards the end of the webinar. Some of our panelists might have to step out due to other commitments, so they will speak in the start. If there are some questions for them, please post them anyway. We will share with them subsequently, right? And most importantly, after this webinar, please do fill the feedback form, because we do some things well, but we can always do many things better. So we would love to hear from you both what we have done well and what we could do better. So the feedback link will be shared shortly. Please fill that in. Sorry, and thank you once again, panelists, for being patient. I'm just quickly going to give a glimpse of what the panel today looks like, and then hand it over to one of our first panelists, Shar, who has other commitments and has to step out. So we have Pavitra Bahadur Gautam, who's from Nepal. He's a founder of Karkhana and doing some fantastic work in schools, particularly with environment education, as well as including science. So Pavitra, welcome. I've kept the introduction very brief. Once you speak, please do mention a little bit more about your work as well. So welcome to the panel, and eager to hear about your work as well as your perspective on the training manual that we are sharing. Dr. Sriji Kuru, actually a very important person for this entire exercise. He's from Center for Environment Education. They have been doing fantastic work over the last many decades, actually, on environment education in India. Dr. Shijikaru, particularly in this context, has been the main person behind bringing all these different perspectives that we talked about from the seminar, from FNF, and from, of course, their own body of research and the work they have done before to put this fantastic training manual together. So Shiji, welcome, and great to see you once again virtually. Look forward to hearing you once again. We have Ms. Kadambari Lohia, whom I have known for last many years, especially as not just a mentor teacher, but a very enthusiastic educator who's there in the system, trying to make system work by being within the system. And I think that's really one of the main things that sort of stands out for Kadambari ma'am. She's of course associated with the Delhi education system, mentoring teachers, creating new generation of educators, but at the same time also creating many new generation of learners. So Dr. Kadambari ma'am, thank you so much for joining, and great to see you once again as well after the seminar. We have Shar, who has to leave first, but her introduction is towards the end. Shar has joined us all the way from Myanmar. She is the founder of Climate Action Lab, again doing some fantastic work on climate change, on ecology, environment in Myanmar, and her work also transcends beyond Myanmar, actually. Shar, wonderful to have you here. We would love to hear a little bit about your work. So without any further delay, why don't I just invite you first and hear your perspective on just the relevance of a curriculum like this? Why do you think that the teacher should have some manual like this? What's the relevance? Over to you, welcome, and over to you, Shar.
So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be able to participate in this event and also talk and discuss together with the experts from like Nepal and also India and Sri Lanka country as well. So from right now, I'm also leading my own organization called Climate Action Lab Myanmar, and also serving as co-chair of youth task force, and also youth conduct for many climate change organizations in Myanmar. So I have been serving as an educator for less 4 years. Right now, I am more of doing some kind of professionals and also research initiatives in terms of climate change mitigations and also blue economy, things like planting mangroves and things like that. So as a youth growing up in developing country like Myanmar, Southeast Asia, we have a lot of unstable we have been facing a lot of problems regarding the political, social, and economical issues. And in this I also checked the training manual. The training manual is really really like well developed, and also it is like must have like training manuals for every teacher who will be teaching the blue economy and also ocean literacy as well. But the thing is, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm from Myanmar, so most of the peoples in Myanmar like English is a language barrier for them to be able to understand, and also all of these concepts, because first thing first, English is the main barrier. A second thing is that blue economy is not familiar for them. It's a very new term. Like they might also know environmental educations, environmental awareness, but what is blue economy? What is green economy? It's more of like technical things, you know. Also, Myanmar education system is also right now in a very challenging state. We have been facing a lot of unstable situations since 2021, and right now most of the people's like youth and children, they don't have us they are not very much eager to learn about environmental education, because they have so many things happening in their life. They have been struggling for their livelihoods and also other activities. So like how can we make this curriculum engaging and also effective and also like easy to use at the same time? So this is really critical for like for situations in Myanmar, because unlike other countries, Myanmar have been facing with a lot of climate risk and climate vulnerability in this year, like even regarding as the highest risk in climate and environmental shock stress in 2021. And also we don't have like proper mitigations and adaptations like climate preparation plan when it comes to natural disaster. So I think that education is the one main tool to be able to address all of these issues, and also we need more of inclusive sustainable education. What I mean by that is inclusive is, so you develop the training manual, and also we also need to translate this kind of training manuals to Burmese language, or more friendly, not technical jargons, but more friendly, easy to use training manual for teachers and also other students who will be using this training manual. So I really suggest that to make more inclusive, and also to consider different facts that BIMSTEC country are facing. So India and Nepal will not be the same, and because of the geographical locations, and also Nepal's and Myanmar and also Thailand will not be the same because of the geographical location. So I think geographical factor is also another point to consider, and also the country situation and country context is another point to consider as well. So training manuals is already perfect, but we need to adjust and adapt to each country's situations, and also current situations happening in each country as well. So this is what I would like to suggest about the training manual. And otherwise, I really cannot wait to see the full training manual and also teach to my Climate Action Lab kids who have been participating in my Climate Action Lab organization. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shah. I know you have to go step out soon. Are you here?
I can stay. I can if you have the questions, you can also message me about WhatsApp or this messenger. I can come and join again.
Sure. Thank you so much. I just do have one quick follow-up question before you step out, Shah. Are you still here?
Yes, sure. Please do.
Okay.
I can stay.
Just quick one question is that many teachers here, often when they see a curriculum like this, they wonder, I'm not sure whether my children will learn from it, right? As an educator, would you like to tell us a little bit, just in a minute, about the students, the age group, the students, where they come from, and what their reality is that you actually engage with through your Climate Action Lab? About the profile
Yes.
of students a little bit.
So right now we are more of targeting to age 8 years old to 15 years old. I think it's like easier to teach, and also they are really more interested about nature, environment, and ecology. And also, but I think this is like 8 to 15-year-old age is the perfect age to like to transform their behavior as well. So because I didn't able to get a chance to teach like environment education since I was young, so I didn't know much about plastics, the negative impact of plastics, and also their impacts on the environment and degradation and things like that. Because I get to know this kind of things because I major in this environmental biology things, and then I slowly aware of these things. So I think that kids need to know this kind of effect, like environmental degradations and other like consequences at first since they were very little young, so that when they are grown up, they have the conscious mindset to be able to make informed and also like impactful decisions, not to make harmful to the nature and also environment, natural resources. That's why I think blue economy and blue curriculum is really important, because we are living on the land, and we are being disconnected from the ocean and water since we were born, and we never thought that ocean will be so diverse and also so colorful and so vast, and that there are so many problems happening in the oceans that we don't know, like fissions problems, like plastic pollution problem on the ocean. So I think that kids need to know that even though it's like ocean is far away from their homes and their lands and also their places, oceans is providing like numerous amounts of natural resources, and also the air we breathe, and also the things that we are using right now. So like half of them, and also like majority of them, we got this from the oceans. We extracted from the ocean natural resources. So I think that young generations need to know that, and they right now they might be thinking like everything they got it from everything they use, they got it from their homes, their moms bought them for their usage. So I think that is really important to know about the like the nature of the oceans, so that they will be thinking more, they will have the sustainable mindsets, not to harm the ocean, and also to use the sustainable resources from the ocean as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to come to Kadambari ma'am, and I'm also going to come to Pavitra. Prior to that, I'm going to just quickly invite Shriji. Couple of questions following up from what Shar shared. That so there are children who don't have ocean around them. They don't have ocean is just in concept. There are children who are age group 8 to 15. I'm sure many of our teachers, Jagruti ma'am, Afia ma'am, many who are writing here in the chat box, deal with different age groups. Could you, in just a couple of minutes' time, tell us a little about this curriculum, its relevance, whom is it meant for, what's the thought process behind it, and just sort of like setting the basics right for all the participants. Over to you, Shriji.
Thank you so much. I'm Shriji, and I come from the Center for Environment Education. I not only take the comment from Shar, but also all the views that we had in the print. And I think what came out was that we required a general tapestry. We require something that every educator can design, every student can design. Something I would say where co-creation becomes central to what you are learning, and how do you make your learning journey so that it becomes empowering and you're owning the whole process. So in that context, what we set out in the manual are broad frameworks, broad things, broad tools, I would say. Like say, for example, each of you will find an excellent hands-on activity. So the topic or the subject doesn't matter much. What matters is how are you doing it in a participatory manner? How do you engage? How do you bring that in ambience, not just in your classroom? You can take it in your home also. You can engage your parents also. It's so the educator in this context is not just the teachers, and that we are very clear. So this appeals to both formal and non-formal sector. Coming back to the topic on oceans, now see this word blue, and we had a lot of discussion on that because I think economy and all that. Finally, what we realized is, and there's a beautiful thing in the manual, that when Chandrayaan reaches the moon and takes a photograph of the Earth, you see a blue globe, I mean blue sphere. So that blue is something which we all know that it is water, it is the planet, the life. And as Shailendra ji said, that within this, how do we find the harmony within us and for the planet? So if essentially that core thing on sustainability education can be done, whether you take oceans as an example, whether you take Himalayas, mountains, whatever it is possible. What we attempted to do in this manual is we have given a lot of tools, methodologies, both for teachers, students. You give an example of the ocean on how you can use ocean to relate with your life. You then use it for your own local context. Each activity is very much personalized. It is up to the teacher how do they kind of make it more personalized. It's up to the student how does it make them more curious. What would apply to me? What would apply to my family? What would apply to my neighborhood? If these questions come triggering in their minds, I think we are quite happy to note that the manual is creating that sort of an impact. So to say that, I would put it in that manner, that the crux of it, the whole thing is to empower everyone for sustainability education. Whether we call it blue, we call it green, brown, whatever it is. Each one of us has a principle. And I think a lot of things like what Harshit was mentioning about whether plucking that flower to appeal to my ego, my sense of joy, is it joy or is it love? That reflection, that sense of reflection is what we want to trigger in everyone. So I think the subject will never become a limitation or a challenge to anyone who is a blue steward. This is the word that I'm using, a blue steward. And so it's not just student, it's a blue facilitator, it's a blue steward, and somebody who is empowering, energetic, positive. And that is what I think what we want to set out with. So the subjective academic knowledge wouldn't be so much of a challenge here. It would be really useful to know what is coming from within and in the group. So I also envision that this because it's also a BIMSTEC setting, we have also tried to see how it enters into the cooperation within us, between families, also enters between nations. If it is possible that how Shar in Myanmar is able to, maybe a student from there is able to learn something from India. India students learn something some from Nepal. This cross learning is also high potential the way the manual is arranged. So all in all, I would say the more the manual is being used, it can be customized. Each school will have its own individual manuals, each individual co-created designed manual. So this is a possibility. I think, so I'll stop with that. And I think that keeps the framework for the manual. Right?
Well, I mean, participatory curriculum is like it's like a music to our ears, isn't it, Kadambari ma'am? Especially for educators who are involved in transforming education systems. I think, Kadambari ma'am, there could not be a better note to hand over the mic to you. Could you please step in here, talk a little bit about the relevance? You as much have been a part of this process. You are very much a part of the seminar. You have been subsequently involved. And you have vast pool of experience of almost about 30 years in education sector. So over to you, Kadambari ma'am. Please take it forward from here.
Thank you, Rohan. And Shriji, let me congratulate you in the beginning. I wanted to do that as soon as I saw the manual. Like the change that you have done since December. Wow. So first, a congratulations to you for that. Yes, and I would really like to acknowledge that you have incorporated a lot of things that we were just blabbering about and we weren't even ourselves clear at that time. But seeing this, we understand. As for the relevance, and there was one question in the chat also which said that where will we find that space for this curriculum and this, extra things that is being taught, is being talked about. So for that, let me begin by saying that if I want to tell my students about something, I'll find that space. As a teacher, this is where I begin. But moving on, there can be a lot of co-curricular activities also which can be used. Going by the relevance for this, the topics you have chosen are excellent. It is all about SDGs. It is all about, and Rohan just said that like we'll be co-creating. So with you, we'll be working on what suits my school. Shar also said the same thing as for language and for the, adaptability in our school curriculum. For Delhi, when I speak, we have e-magazine for our students. It is called Student-Led E-Magazine. And the topic for the same is SDGs. So this year, all, 18 lakh students are preparing their own student-led e-magazines on the topic of SDGs. So I am very inspired, and for the next year, because I do a little work with those e-magazines, I can have the blue curriculum as a theme for the e-magazine. It's done. So the children themselves will become, explorers, and they'll find that space and know about what the curriculum is about, and then how they reacted, how they incorporated it in their learning. So this is where I find this thing very relevant. And thank you for doing all the hard work for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kadambari ma'am. We also have Pavitra from Nepal, who is also doing excellent work with schools on environment particularly. And if I may announce this, if there are some Delhi government school teachers, Pavitra has already sort of told you to start packing your bags because he's going to take some of you to see the schools in Nepal. So Pavitra, over to you, a little bit about the excitement about this curriculum and its relevance. If you could share in a couple of minutes.
Thank you so much, Ruhan. And I think, of course, I'd like to begin by congratulating Shirji, because I mean, from when we saw the idea and the draft in December to what we've seen right now, I think it's an amazing set of change that we've seen. And again, like many times, I think whenever we've talked about the idea of blue curriculum, or I think because it largely relates to the idea of ocean, but seeing it evolve in a way that this incorporates the principle, or like the inspirations from water and the nature of water itself. I think seeing that idea and the argument in the curriculum was very, very refreshing. And I think this actually helps us. I think that exactly resonated with what Sirji was telling us before as well, because many times curriculum help us give the goals and objectives, and what as educators we need to do is find its relevance and be a little bit more dynamic and connected with whatever we're trying to do in our classrooms with our students. And saying that, I think I'll just start by sharing this simple example that the snow in the mountains have microplastics these days. I mean, what you can say about that? As a citizen of a landlocked country where we have a lot of mountains, we have started to see the traces of microplastics there, and it's stated in a couple of the researches. And sometimes we think that we're not connected, but we are connected. We are connected by rivers, we're connected by glaciers, we're connected by the weather patterns, because the way our ecology works, the way our planet works, I mean, there's a simple example. When there's a lot of I think after the harvest, there's a lot of fire that happens in Punjab, and we have fog in Kathmandu as well. So the world is connected, the waters are connected, and so the learning has to get connected in the same manner. And I think this is a really interesting initiative. The portion on the BIMSTEC, how the students as a part of the BIMSTEC, like students have to think about maybe the pollution that I'm doing in the river in front of my house, which is a landlocked country. Maybe I am affecting the farmers in the Myanmar who are like fishing and like running the livelihood. I think until and unless we see this connectedness, unless we explore this connectedness, I don't think we will be making our planet any better. Because the planet by nature is very connected. I think I really love the idea of the interesting principle on the curriculum about mimicking the nature, how nature always has a way of finding the resource from the waste. And the idea of utilizing resources from the local level. And sometimes I think we're too overwhelmed by this idea of being global, but sometimes the change starts at the local level. And if you can do that well, maybe you're creating a global impact. And I think that's one of the strong belief that even my organization has, which is like innovate locally so that it has a global impact for all of us. Another idea I really liked about was the idea of being creative and innovative about this approach, because of course innovation and creativity does not only have to lead to profits, they can lead to sustainability, which leads to a long-term profit. I think that kind of perspective is has to be integrated in the classrooms. And as educators, I think if this can help educators think, question themselves, their activities, I think that would be a great success. Wherever this curriculum will be read by, as Sirji said, it's not necessarily as a parent you can be an educator. As an educator, you can. One thing that I really liked about the overall draft of the curriculum that I saw was how there are different levels of activities designed for different grades of students. Because I think in the starting, we're doing very simple and fun activities like a web of life, what went wrong, countdown. So these are very fun, very hands-on, very simple, but very intuitive activities that we can do with like second and third graders as well. And I think that conversation can start from there. And but from that point to, I think taking this idea of like connectedness between different countries, I think this curriculum can actually help someone think through the connectedness and also use this very interesting nature of water as a lens to look at their curriculum, and again looking at the water itself and how it cycles and how it affects our life and how we affect the life of the cycle, life of the water as well. So I think in that sense, I think it's really relevant for any country, and for a country like Nepal where we don't have any direct connectedness with the ocean.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Pavitra. Especially the point on interconnectedness is very well taken. I am also going to touch upon interconnectedness, but of a different kind. For a teacher, whenever there is something new coming, the first connection she thinks about is how is it connected with my syllabus? Because ultimately she is answerable to parents, children, and her principal to complete the syllabus, to complete the prepare children for examinations. So, who else but Kadambari ma'am would be a great person to start perhaps answering this. She has done this and seen this for so many years. Ma'am, what's your sort of take on how is it connected? Where can it connect? Let's keep the Indian curriculum in mind perhaps, but many others will also have similar themes. So over to you, Kadambari ma'am.
Actually, it is not a very vague topic. It is all the activities and even the blue curriculum. The topic itself is something that is already in our curriculum. It's already in our books, in our syllabus. So it is not that we have suddenly found a apple in a mango tree, nothing like that. It is one of the mangoes that is hanging, and we just need to, look at it because it's ripe right now. And it's ripe because it's relevant. So I am more concerned that it should be relevant to the students. So that is something that will come for me. I'll again, give example from Delhi only. In Delhi, we have initiated student advisory boards in all our 1,000 schools, in the Delhi government schools. So if I want to, put all these topics in our students' minds, I will have those leaders that we have created in the schools transact the, learnings or transact the content to the classmates through the student advisory boards. So this is another way of doing, because the first question a teacher thinks of, where will I find the space in my curriculum, in my class? So it is not always, the onus cannot be always on the teacher to do that. The students too need to find space for that. I was just leafing through the manual that Shriji has done. So there was I think there's an activity on page 26, which is my vision of the world, for the world. So it's a very simple thing that, okay, just imagine the globe and then think about it. And then how do you look at the globe? How simple. And every and any child would love to scribble something for the world, for the, his or her continent. We do that in Delhi with when we do the Desh Bhakti curriculum, that we make a map of India, because we are doing it basically for India right now. And then my vision for India. And we did very recently, we did a write-up for our students, my vision for India in 2047. So when we are completing our 100 years. So students gave such fabulous thoughts without much intervention or without much, what should I say, guidance from the teachers. So how about letting them also do it? We just need to provide them that space and let them work. The language is very clear, and all the steps have been given, the method and the discussion points and how we can evaluate. So evaluation also, because even I thought about that how to evaluate the same. So it will come in the student's mannerism, in his talks, in the feedback that the child will give after the content has been transacted, or when they have discussed it. So it is not that we need particular 30 minutes a day to, talk about these things. It can be done simply through assemblies or through activity week, and all these things can be covered. So I think
Kadamari ma'am, we lost you for like just a second. Could you?
Okay, no, I was just saying, I hope I have answered, the
Oh,
relevant.
wonderfully answered, and it also does give us a glimpse on the other hat you wear is English language resource person. Your excellent way of explaining and great command over the language. Thank you so much, ma'am. No, really useful to hear. Let's also hear a little bit from Shiji. Shiji, is it envisaged to be taught as, let's say, something like part of science as a subject or part of any other subject? Ma'am has already touched upon the overall connectedness with the curriculum. How do you see that actually happening? So do teachers give like extra marks for this, or what do they do? Like, do they teach classes based on this, or what do they really do? Very shortly, and before sort of I hand it over to you, also quick time check, just acknowledging that there are a couple of questions that are here in the chat box. There are some that have come in the Q&A. We'll be answering those questions shortly. Let's hear one more round from the panelists, and then we'll answer the questions for the remaining 10 to 12 minutes of the webinar. So that's the flow. Pavitra, I'll subsequently also come to you for this with the same similar question so that you can be ready. Shiji, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So it's an interesting thing. And what we thought about is that, see, any teacher, irrespective of any subject, I think they do their lesson plans before they move into the class and how they would transact it. Be it any subject, I would say even the physical education teacher, what they're doing. The student, if you think from the examination point of view, what I learned, do they fear exams? Do they do you see the sense of joy in giving exams? Or the teacher, it is always, that fear is always there. What am I being evaluated for? This manual, the way it is designed, offers any subject teacher that scope to incorporate that sustainability dialogues. That's why we're calling it sustainability dialogues for life. At each and every opportunity you have. So if it's the teachers, for example, when they design that they require these certain learning outcomes from their students, say whatever age groups, they are in a position to see which teacher can take what. Even in their own curriculum, even their own subject areas, they could use or innovate to use this particular activity to strengthen their subject or the concept knowledge. So it's not necessarily science. It could also be like, say, Kadambari ma'am is on English. What she was mentioning is right now the expression of, say, literature. Maybe it was drawing, maybe uses a poem of the vision of the world. So it could be, it's up to the educator how they do it. What the student need not realize is that they are being evaluated. I would imagine that the discussions, the group activities, when they do it, they have a sense of exchanging with each other. There is no, fear that my drawing is poor, I could not express, how would I be judged? This doesn't happen in any of these activities. In fact, we want everything to come forward. There is also the scope that each of that final set of outcomes, which you document in terms of, say, charts, drawings, that becomes your future sustainability dialogues. Yeah, that becomes your future references. That is how we see it as a co-created set of materials. So maybe end of this manual, you might have a manual, but you might end up doing worksheets, which is customized for your own things. Maybe the student wanted to evaluate something from their area, from their school. They could design very much how they would want to do it. So in a nutshell, I think the peer-to-peer evaluation in the strict sense of the word evaluation, but not evaluating how I judge, but it's evaluating what is that much common in me, what are the values that we share, how can we make a more harmonious environment within us. I think and Delhi government, I think that whole thing about is to on the citizenship and happiness. I think that the fear part is being removed. So I think this would appeal. And I think this is where all the deal-state countries, all the countries that it moves across, there's a tremendous scope for the educators to exchange their ideas on this. How have they used this particular activity on a certain subject? How the students did. So this cross-learning, if we are able to do, I think it will offer a brilliant scope for actually enhancing, in true sense, the curriculum for this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shiji. As you explained, and I appreciate what you just explained here. I would also like to acknowledge a couple of experiments, a couple of notes that our educator participants have shared in the chat box. Particularly that stand out in front of me is one by Vidushi Joshi ma'am and Monica Jagota ma'am. I'm assuming both from Delhi government and colleagues of Kadambari ma'am. Hello to both of you, and thanks for sharing your insights here. Very, very useful. Pavitra, over to you.
Thank you so much. So as I was thinking about how do we connect it to whatever is happening in our regular classroom, something that we have strongly believe. So let me help you understand a little bit of my work, what I do here in Nepal. So what we do is we try to connect activities and hands-on approach to whatever the existing curriculum is, particularly on the STEM and the STEAM subjects, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we've always employed this methodology, STEAM methodology, whenever we design activities. So by default, whenever so as an educator, by default, my mode of thinking is whenever I see fun activities, I always look like where I can put this so that my learning objectives can be met. So it's not about looking at something and trying to fit the entire box, but where can I use the piece of something in and connect it with something that aligns with this idea. So as an educator, if we are fixated on the specific approach, let's say specific lesson plan or the syllabus, that would actually be quite very rigid, and I don't think that would give us as an educator to have an experimental approach to all of these ideas. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing justice to our students, because there's so many activities, there's so many information, there's so many things to teach, and it will always get confused. So as an educator, having this attitude or culture of experimentation is going to be must about employing these ideas. Another thing I was thinking through, and maybe this is something for food for thought for Sidri and even to myself as I look through the curriculum, is maybe the way this curriculum is set for an expert teacher, someone who has had expertise in building open lesson plans, participatory lesson plans, they would look at it and they would be very happy, and they would see, oh my god, there's so much of work being done, I can just take a piece of it and connect it with something that I'm already doing. But I guess that would not be the same case for the newcomers or novice teachers. So maybe trying to find some of the ways where we do some of the mapping of these simple activities with the existing curriculum objectives, or some of the subjects that already being done in some of the classrooms. So maybe it can help the newcomers or novice teachers to see the connectedness, not just in terms of the ecology, the connectedness in terms of the curriculum and the lesson plan, and the how the same activity can be taught for something where the assessment will be automatically be done by the existing approach. So I think these can be connected, can be probably be done with a little bit more work after this, which is a little bit of more mapping. And I was actually thinking in the same way, because I was thinking where I can put these kind of activities. Okay, maybe this subject on this content, maybe this is how they will do the activity, and this automatically connects with the assessment they're already doing. So I was already thinking in that line. So I think maybe not for the expert teachers, but for newcomers and the novice teachers, maybe some of the supportive materials would definitely help. I think that would be also my food for thought.
Fantastic. What I like about this panel as well as the participants is the clues of what's going to come next are already there, as almost as if it was a scripted and a planned event. This is fantastic. There is a question from one educator, Miss Sangita, which is actually about how are you going to train the teachers to transact this effectively. That was one of my questions as well to all the panelists, and perhaps let's try this time go in the whichever sequence. The a simple thing is we hear about a lot such outstanding initiatives. There are these curriculum. There is one, of course, happiness curriculum. There is blue curriculum. As Kadambari ma'am wonderfully put it, it's all sort of, and Shriji extended it, that there is interconnectedness between all subjects. So you don't need to look at these as separate things, but essentially part of what you're already doing. Wonderful. Okay. But when the teacher goes in the classroom, and when she has those 40 or sometimes even more, in Hindi they say shaitans, or we say the angels sitting in front of us, how do they really transact this? Who will sort of guide them? Because a lot of these different things keep coming up in the classroom when they take these activities to children. Whom can they turn to? So could we please touch upon a little bit on the training and capacity building of teachers aspect, one, as well as where can teachers turn to for support when they implement something like this? Any insights, perhaps, from all three of you in a minute or so? That would be wonderful. I'll also just quickly check. There are a couple of questions from students who are related to science in particular. I think some of those are answered already by Pavitra, that how our activities, human activities, contribute to climate change. There is one more question from Advait Madkaikar. How do you allow students to think critically through this curriculum? Right. So let's take these two questions. They're pretty much also connected to what I would have asked you. So let's start with Kadamari ma'am, perhaps, then Pavitra, and then we'll move to Shiji. Over to you, Kadamari ma'am.
Okay. So for training, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So for us, the path is, really simple. We in Delhi, we had Shailendra ji, give the keynote address, and so we'll first get it vetted, the manual that Shriji has, created, and then we can find space through our, training setups, SCRTs, even mentor teachers. So all can contribute, and we will ensure that this, spreads. So for us, I think it is relatively simpler, because a lot of training is happening in Delhi government schools, and our, higher authorities are very proactive about training of teachers. This is something my colleagues in the, webinar, they will agree to, and we'll definitely look into it. We first try and, assess what is there in the manual that is being presented to us, and we'll find spaces for training throughout the year. We do that very well in Delhi. So I have no issues in that. There's a thumbs up. So I understand that, yes, they know that training is not a problem for us. And we have found spaces also, like we have Desh Bhakti curriculum, in Delhi, another mindset curriculum that we have. So even in that period, and even in that, space that we have in our school timetable, things can be taught and things can be discussed. Shriji has created a few, like I was reading, like there was one activity about tree, so a child has to first imagine. It is not necessary that you have to go out and see the tree and then, create something or draw. Same is the case with sea, oceans. Sitting in Delhi, we cannot expect that all the children have, found ocean or have been there, or their legs have touched the waves. So not required. A lot of audio visuals also can be used to make them experience that. So that is something the teacher has to be trained for, and the teacher needs to know. So all the steps are there. So Shriji has done a lot of work for us, and I think we'll do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Before we move on to Pavitra, may I request Manjari or our team from colleagues from FNF? We have been referring to this training manual a bunch of times, and it's been about half an hour or 40 minutes since the launch. Can we please once run the screen again with the training manual which we launched in the start? This is just for those people who joined later, who don't have a reference to what we are talking about. So could we just once quickly glance, or perhaps as for the panelists speak, if we could share screen and just have the manual, that
Yes.
would be wonderful.
Sure, Rohan. I would request Shaurya. Shaurya, are you there? Could you please share your screen again? Just give me a second. We'll do that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Those who join participants later, we are talking about the teacher training manual, about blue curriculum. That's a quick sort of two summary words. You can see very shortly what the training manual is all about. And since we are referring to activities for children, it's great to have some reference in front of us as well. Let's keep glancing through this for the next 2 to 3 minutes while Pavitra and then Shriji share their perspectives. Pavitra, over to you. And sorry for this interruption, but I thought it was relevant to have this manual in the background.
No, absolutely. I think it was actually very good to remind everyone that this is the curriculum we've been talking about, because I think all of us have gone through it, read through it. For the participant, it's actually necessary. I'd actually start by agreeing to what the Sangeeta said in the chat, which is doing activities don't change anything. It's the discussion on the activities. Absolutely correct. Because something that I'm a strong believer of is hands-on is not enough. It has to be minds-on as well. So when these hands-on and minds-on activities come together, I think that's when the true learning happens. And absolutely agree on that idea that the teachers, and again, while I'm saying all of this, I have very limited understanding of the Indian curriculum, but I largely am talking about the understanding of the Nepali curriculum. But I'm sure there's so much of linkages and the similarities. So whenever I felt that this kind of curriculum can be integrated, because there's already existing spaces. So for a case in Nepal, we have this lessons on environment, climate change, that is already part of the science, as well as in some schools and in some of the local curriculum, it's a part of the environment education as well. So it can be absolutely like connected in that part. And even if that's not so, I think whenever we're training the teachers, it's not that one training would be sufficient for them. I think one training would be the first step, and the teachers, when they take it out there, try something out, and I think then they need the community where there should be other teachers trying other things, and they should come back, reflect ideas, discuss ideas, share success stories, share challenge stories, share mess up stories. And I think when the community starts to take these into the classroom, share their journeys together, I think that's when the teachers would grow. And as trainers, supporters, I think fostering that kind of community is going to be absolutely instrumental for the change in the teachers in adopting these ideas from the manual or from the curriculum. And the question from the Advait was very interesting, because I've always thought about this idea, like how do you allow students to think critically through this curriculum? Something that I've believed in about the critical thinking is you cannot teach critical thinking. You can teach some subject which allows students to think critically. So I think when the curriculums, when the lesson plans, when the ideas push students thinking to their limits, when you introduce a healthy amount of skepticism into their thinking, when you challenge their existing knowledge and keep pushing them to unlearn things that they have already learned, I think when the ideas and activities challenge the students, and I think that's when the students would start to think critically. I mean, one of the ideas that I started my previous answer was, do you think there are microplastics in the mountains? I think the natural answer would be no, but there are microplastics. So how do you think they end up there? I think when you start to have this kind of discussion in the classroom, I think that's how you would help students to think critically through this curriculum. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pavitra. We are just looking at the screen, which shows Friedrich Naumann Foundation. Those teachers who have also joined later. It's a German foundation. Their regional office is based here in Delhi, and they are the hosts. They assigned, they commissioned this work to Center for Environment Education, who have taken up development of this curriculum. These are just some of the entities that you should know: CEE, FNF, who are closely involved in this. This is just a quick note for the teachers and educators in the webinar. You can't tell who has joined right from the start and later. So just a couple of revisions before I go to Shriji. Shriji, over to you.
Yes, fantastic. So I think it's very well put both by Kadharindra and Pavitra. So essentially, as what's one of the participants, I think Sangeeta had mentioned that how do you do this training? So I'm not worried about how do I do the training, as long as we know that the teacher knows that how do I facilitate the whole thing. So Rohan, it's as simple as how do you know, irrespective of all the subjects, whatever is thrown off you, how do you moderate all these things? The skill of moderating, or the skill of bringing out the, like, imagine that you are the facilitator, you are the educator, and we are all the learners. You're essentially trying to bring out certain things from, weave things together. That is the most essential thing that facilitators, I would say, is the most important training, if I would say, is required in that sense. And teachers essentially have that core skill of taking the discussion through. But does the academic curriculum, does that learning space, the time limitation, does it allow that process to happen? So like Pavitra was mentioning, okay, we give a fact, microplastics are found in snowflakes. Students suddenly got information. But how do you then keep on the suspense? Why it happened? How did it happen? Allow them to explore. That is what the activity, that is what we want the educators to go through. And there, in that sense, I think the training would essentially be, if at all, on how do you do these facilitation? Why is it that a facilitation proper manner will allow the adequate knowledge, skills, and attitude to come out from the learners? So essentially, most of us deal with textbooks. And I remember Shailendraji in his initial keynote address during the seminar, he was mentioning about that the textbook in itself can't do it. The teacher in itself cannot do it, and the test in itself cannot do it. It's a combination of all these three. And in the curriculum, academic curriculum, we have all these three. But how do we allow them to be creatively engaging? If we can create the ambience for both the teacher and the teacher to do it. And I would imagine there is no wrong facilitation. There is no wrong answer, there is no right answer. And it essentially, it also enhances the teaching methodology, the way things are done. So a particular teacher might have done a certain thing brilliantly, which appeals to that age group. Like maybe for Delhi, they have this Desh Bhakti curriculum, it adapts. Nepal might do it in a different manner. So essentially, how do you cross learn? This again, I'm stressing this point that how do we cross learn methodologies? How do we do place-based learning? Somebody has done through project-based learning. So this is the idea of this whole thing. And so I think the training, if we were to move into a formalized training, the focus need to have on that facilitation skills. How do we do that? The subject doesn't become too much of a challenge for us.
Right, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure many teachers will resonate with this. In fact, there is a comment and a question from an educator, Tina Sabu. She says, and I'm reading it out more for the participants rather than panelists. Says like she's an environment management teacher herself, and one of the challenges she faces is the nature of the subject. What she feels is that teachers may need to be acquainted or at least familiar, have content knowledge of science, social science, and economics, all three. She also has a question for the panelists. Is that do you think that this would be practical in that case in classrooms when a teacher needs to know about so many different themes and so many different subjects? Perhaps Shriji, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, this is also something that we're figuring out with concept mapping that I think Pavitra was mentioning about Novice. And how do you map these concepts which are being taught? Why do we learn these concepts? To come out with the learning outcomes. The conceptual understanding gives you an understanding essence. It's a clarity of thought, the perspective. That is why this whole manual is divided into two areas. The first section is only on developing perspectives. Now, what we say is this is not just for the teacher, for the students. It's also developing perspective for the teacher himself or herself also. So the second part is adapting or executing or implementing those perspectives. So what you gained in the section one, you kind of try to see and relate it to the second. Now, in terms of content, it might be challenging. For example, if I know a lot of information, come out with a, sorry, am I audible?
Hear you for a second. Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So we have a lot of content information about climate change. Consider the ocean poster. That's why we took that example. And we know ocean acidification, sea level rise. All this is complex. The subject is so complex. But then there's an activity on you say, how do you do a mind mapping? This is something everybody does. Student does it consciously, unconsciously to know their subject. Irrespective of the complexity of the content, does the activity nudge you towards research, nudge you to ask questions? So we said, okay, can you find out somebody who knows this? Do you have that? You make that attempt. For example, if there is something to do with botany or flower, we would never imagine to ask the school gardener anything about that. We would rely on the teacher, the school gardener to find out how do you nurture that plant. Now, this is where we feel that the content can be treated. And the teacher, definitely the teacher needs to know a fair bit of content. We have given those sort of notes, some key references for the subject, so it's not too heavy. But the entire idea is that the students also come out with their information, content, present it and discuss. You can always enhance that scope of that content. So I know it is a challenge, but we are hoping that this would look simplified. And the initial sets, it is a kind of a level. So if you go to the last later portions of the manual, it might look very complex. But if you have developed that perspective, I think it looks very simple. And all of these are real life examples. Most of these are real life examples. So I think this also gives examples. Also, yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think the debate on what all teacher really needs to know. We have tried doing this several times, whether it's the subject knowledge, whether it's the pedagogy, whether it's the mindset, whether it's the communication skills, whether it's the technology, or a combination of all. We do already agree that there is a expectation for teachers to often be a superhuman, but they do actually play a role of superhuman in children's lives. One. Second is, I think, just being a little bit of, I think what the panelists are sharing and what resonates very deeply with me is just the openness about this, first from the educators. Second, about resourcefulness, looking at resources that can help. Three, of course, is to connect it with what they're doing, and also trust in children to come up with what Kadambari ma'am was sharing, that they themselves come up with such fantastic ideas. So making them in charge of their learning process. So fantastic insights without sort of I think teachers will also take a lot to think from all that you have shared. And I think conviction, definitely. There was a question, I think, which Pavitra has answered in the chat box about the environment that hampers. Well, I mean, I think Kadambari ma'am what shared and what Pavitra is sharing, you can actually get children to speak and share freely, speak freely, isn't it, Kadambari ma'am? So I think even in any environment, I think it's possible. The role of the teacher and role of the community in general, where the school operates, becomes important. Yes, Kadambari ma'am will promptly take that answer. Yes, please go ahead.
Huh. So when I was reading this question about critically, thinking for the students, so there was another activity that I liked that Shriji had given it. It is there's a value chart and which says what is important for me. So before analyzing the environment or critically thinking, let me first find self-awareness. So if a child is made to do something like this, there is I believe there's there's a chart which says which value is important for me. And then the child thinks, and then there is a set of questions that whatever values they have said that this is important, being truthful is important, or taking care of the environment is important, then why is it important? The critical thinking comes automatically. So how about first making the child aware? And this manual is aptly doing this. So for my dear friends, teachers who are concerned about what is happening outside in the society or the country politically, I think it is better that first we start with the child from inside. And that will help us find the, answer to more complex questions also. Not trying to be very, preachy, but let's try this. Because if these questions are making me think, I think a child who's himself or herself a, thinking being, they will also find answers to the, how to do things critically. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The time is, in fact, we are running 5 minutes late. I just realized looking at this. First things first, thank you so much to all the panelists for these wonderful insights. Just so thorough and so detailed. We were able to answer some questions from teachers. Some, I think, we will also take back with us. Some teachers will also take back with them. I think, the dialogue that we have started here doesn't need to stop after the panel discussion. One way to continue this dialogue, of course, is to share your feedback with us and get in touch with us, so that whatever we plan for this curriculum to take forward, whether it's teacher training, whether it's connecting with your schools, it would be wonderful. It will be easy for us to do that. So may I please request participants to continue sharing their feedback. If there is a particular feedback link, may I request Shorja to please post that link here in the chat box. And once again, thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you so much to the participants. In the initial part, we had keynote speakers. Once again, thanks to them. CE, Center for Civil Society, the partner organization for this. And may I please request Senior Program Manager from Friedrich Naumann Foundation, Nupur Hasija, a dear friend, and who has also hold this entire activity together, right from the first seminar, bringing all of us together and bringing this entire very diverse group. If there is often one connecting point between all of us, it's Nupur, and also with a smile on her face, as you can see on the screen. So Nupur, over to you to make concluding remarks, and please then pass it on to Dr. Klein. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rohan. Thank you so much, panelists Shalendra Ji and Amit. I'm honored to conclude the webinar on the Blue Planet Trading Manual. As Rohan mentioned, this manual is a reflection of our successful December event in New Delhi, focusing on Blue curriculum education. Today's discussion has underscored the integrated relationship between human actions and the environment, the impact of the natural world on human being, and conversely, human activities on the delicate balance of nature cannot be overstated. In light of this, it is crucial to address the pressing need to equip our students and young adults with knowledge and skills to navigate and positively contribute to their surroundings. While we have made strides in prioritizing the Blue curriculum and implementing it in schools in India, European countries have already introduced the European Blue School Handbook. These schools operate as a network employing innovative teaching methods emphasizing land-sea interaction. They collaborate with local partners, initiate projects, and actively promote ocean literacy and environmental responsibility. Having developed an educator's guidebook through extensive discussion and revision, we now aim to disseminate it across India and BIMSTEC countries. Let us view this as an opportunity to shape a sustainable and harmonious future. Now I pass it on to our Regional Director of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, Dr. Carsten Klein, who has been, it was a brainchild of his that we do such conference as well as come up with this manual. Over to you, Dr. Klein.
Yeah, thank you very much, dear Mrs. Nupurji, and all panelists, Rohan Joshi, friends from CCS and CAE. I think when we started this common and joint journey some months ago, we all were not aware how far our path has already reached. And that is always and only because of this great contribution of yours, but also of the panelists and the people, the experts, the practitioners we had in our conference and beyond. So first of all, thank you very much. Based on that, Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom in South Asia and beyond will definitely continue this path together with you. So again, I would also highlight it is so important to get your critical reflection on all these particular issues. And we are also thinking and should think about our future projects, smaller ones, larger ones. I could, for example, imagine that we also try to make this booklet also accessible in easier language, to make it really an integrative part of education. And I also could imagine that based on this evaluation, we come out with a map from the BIMSTEC countries depicting again the interaction, the interconnectivity of water issues in the region. So saying that, I would like again to pass our most thanks to Shailinda Sharmaji from the authorities of Delhi Education System. Thank you very, very much for all your guidance and also for particularly opening the doors to many of the schools. So without that, we would not have this very practical perspective in that discussion. Secondly, thanks to you, especially teachers and educational practitioners out there. It is on your shoulders that you handle this offer, very valuable, perhaps, but also voluntarily offer in your schools together with your students. And of course, not to forget also the parents. As a father myself, I could only highlight how important it is to also have the parents in this journey as well. I find it extremely relevant that we discuss that on a BIMSTEC level, but also I could imagine that we as Friedrich Naumann Foundation, together with our partner CCS, are also trying to integrate some European perspectives into it. Because I think there's a lot to learn from South Asia, from the BIMSTEC countries, also for the Europeans. As I said, I think it is very, very necessary to make this whole product integrative. So as I said, I could very, very much highlight that it would be good to put it also in an easier language. And last but not least, it is extremely important, I think, that we highlight to Harshit. Thank you very much to you and to your colleague Bobby for participating here. I think that it is very elementary to show also the very positive future aspects of our environmental protection in our schools. It is protection, yes. It is saving our nature, yes. It is explaining and understanding the interconnectivities, yes. But it also offers very positive study and job perspectives. This whole path could offer new opportunities to you, the teachers, and also to you, the students. Saying that, again, thank you very much, Amit Chandra and CCS team for your always perfect coordination and contribution. Not to forget our dear colleague, friend, and moderator, Rohan Joshi, not only excellent connoisseur in this context, but far beyond. Again, distinguished panelists, Sri Kurup from CEE, very, very positive, enormous basic work you have undertaken on, and together with CEE Center for Environment Education, Mrs. Shate Hoy from Myanmar, great, Mr. Gautam from Nepal, and not to forget Mrs. Lohita from India. Thanks again to all of you. Again, thanks to all of our guests. Give us your critical reflection, bring us forward in this project. Thanks again to our own team, Nupur Hasija, for always being the motor behind that. Tenzing, Manjari, Tashi, making that event tonight also possible. Check on social media, please. Give us your feedback, and concluding that, I wish you a wonderful evening and let us stay tuned. Thanks a lot and bye.